Welcome to the Relax and Enjoy Health podcast. I'm Andrew French and I'm your optimal health, wellbeing and balance coach. This is episode number 6 where I talk to Claire Kerslake. Today with Claire, we're going to talk about having self-compassion and loving yourself along the way, as well as tapping, how it works and how it can work for you. On a personal note, Claire is my aunt and has always supported me through my entrepreneurial journey and often coaching myself and my wife Cassandra about any pitfalls we may have. So let's get into the interview. Starting. All right. So I would like to offer a very special welcome to my beautiful auntie, Claire Kerslake, who has come on and graciously decided to come on with us tonight. So Claire, welcome. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you. It's really wonderful to be here.
All right. So what I know about you, so oh my goodness, you've been my entire life, you've been a nurse, you've been diabetes coach, helping people, EFT, which you're definitely going to tell us about tonight and everything. But please tell everyone who you are and what do you do.
Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. So I live in the Gold Coast in sunny Queensland, or not so sunny sometimes. I'm an EFT practitioner and I work with people to help them overcome resistance and blocks that are stopping them from taking action. So as you mentioned, I've spent a lot of background as a registered nurse and diabetes educator, and so a lot of time in the health field as well. And these days working a lot with women in business.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about the importance of loving yourself along the way. Not I'm going to love yourself when X happens. So it's just that importance of loving yourself now. So, how can we do this?
I feel really passionate about it, Andrew, because, and particularly we see it in life, business, health. I can do X when I reach a certain weight, or, I love myself when I get there. And sometimes it might not be unconscious, but it's just the importance of loving yourself now and having that self-compassion. And often we can be quite driven. And certainly I work with a lot of my clients that, set very high standards for themselves. And we get really tough on ourselves. Often our self-talk is, we talk to ourselves in ways we would never talk to anyone else. And it's just turning that around. And I just feel so strongly that self-compassion needs to overlay sort of everything that we do. So instead of beating ourselves up, let's say we have a slip up, might be with our health, with our diet, perhaps we missed a day of exercise, whatever. Instead of, beating ourselves up, is just have that lovely self-compassion, curiosity instead. And it even goes one step further as I work with clients and they're starting to recognize this. Then they sometimes beat themselves up for beating themselves up and feel guilty about treating themselves badly. So no, we just, I was saying to a client the other day, it's like when you notice you're talking badly to yourself, just saying something like, darling, we don't do that anymore. We talk nicely to ourselves and it makes such a difference. And the other thing that's related to that, and you see it a little bit in social media, that in order to love yourself, it means that you're happy with the weight you are. You don't want to change anything. But I feel quite strongly too that you can love yourself where you are, but still want to improve, and that's okay. Yeah. So,
it's so true though, and I find that in myself. I used to be, my entire life I've been a chef, and my entire life I feel like I've, whether struggled with my weight or everything, with when I was younger, it was like I would eat and gorge myself until, I felt sick, and then I would actually be sick, just because you shouldn't have eaten that much in the first place. And then that went to, when I was 18, started to become a bodybuilder. So, they just said you had to eat and eat and eat. And so you just ate and ate and ate, and you just got to the habit where you ate and ate and ate, and then you realized you'd have to go on a diet. And of course, you couldn't do anything simple. So I would have to buy a new program, and that would be in the mail. And so I couldn't possibly start until that got here. So it was always something else along the way. And it was just like, and you would beat yourself up, but do the same things all the way along the way. So you weren't loving yourself. You were literally hating every moment until this thing got here that would be your savior. And to me, I think that started, almost a personal journey of, it's just the next thing. It's, the shiny object syndrome, where it's only going to be better when the next thing comes, instead of being happy with what you got, or being content with what you got, or just understanding that, you know what, you've done a really, really good job to this point. And, you actually deserve a little bit of praise for yourself, but you look down on yourself. And, one of the things is the self-compassion for the mistakes you've made in the past and along the way. You said that to me the other day. And that, for me, I think, especially with, the way I feel like my life's gone sometimes, is it's just like, you know what, that's in the past. I'm not that person anymore. And, and one thing Cass and I have learnt over the years is, get a piece of paper, and it's just like, okay, you did this, but guess what? I love you. I forgive you. And just put a line through it. That's it. That's, you know what? It's out. I've got it out of me. It's now. And I would literally, we've gone through pages and pages, and it could be anything, like, the lady at the cash register, you didn't give me the right change, but you know what? I love you. I forgive you, and put a line through it. And it said, oh my goodness, Diane at my grade 12, when I was 12 years old, wouldn't give me cake. Everyone else got cake, but I didn't get it. Oh, I hate Diane. And it's just like, Andrew, you're 43. And it's just, I don't care, but no, I love you. I forgive you, and put a line through it. And what we did at the end is we actually burnt that piece of paper. And it was sort of like, every religion on this planet, they burn their offerings. And the cool thing is, it's now the universe's problem.
Yeah, it's a nice ritual, isn't it? Yeah.
It's gone, and I don't have to carry that anymore. And that's like you were saying, it's all about self-compassion for the mistakes that we've made in the past. And it's amazing to me how those mistakes can literally take a physical toll on us now.
They can. Yeah.
Talking about your clients, so what, their biggest struggles. So what are their biggest struggles, and how would you actually help them to overcome those? And what rituals would they have?
Yeah, it's a range, actually. Sometimes it can be just resistance. A lot of it is that because I work a lot with women in business, so around not taking action, so not being visible perhaps, or knowing exactly what you need to do and not doing it for some reason. And that's very applicable to the health field, of course, as well, because often we do know what we need to do, but we're not doing it. And that's where EFT just comes in so beautifully, because we've heard for years, Nike has made Just Do It famous. And I could almost get on a little rant about Just Do It, because pushing through and making yourself do it might work once or twice or a couple of times, and then it doesn't work anymore because you're not dealing with what's underneath. So it's dissolving that resistance and what's getting in the way, so that you can then step forward and take that action. And in health, there's been just talking about EFT. Do you want me to sort of introduce EFT and say?
Yeah, definitely. Because I was going to say, well, how do you get down to that point of getting through those barriers and stuff?
Yeah.
So tell us. I mean, what is EFT?
Yeah, beautiful question. So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, often called tapping, because that's what you do. You tap on different parts of the different acupressure points, and it's been referred to as psychological acupuncture. Very weird. And when I first, been around probably 30 years, when I first heard about it, I was working in the health field and as a diabetes educator, and I'd heard how great it was, but it was just too out there for me. And then, there's been a lot of research around clinical EFT, which is the type of EFT I use, and in lots of countries, lots of research trials, and really high standards of research like randomized clinical trials, which is fantastic because it really, what we know is that it actually works, which is fantastic because we can see the measurable changes in the body. Now with, they can test your blood and see your stress hormones, cortisol will reduce, blood pressure reduces. There's been some trials now using functional MRI machines, which have been absolutely extraordinary. And I'll show you a couple of examples, demonstrate with a couple of examples. There's been a lot of trials here on the Gold Coast in the area of food and cravings, which is fantastic. And if anyone's ever struggled with cravings, you know just how strong they are and how hard they are to resist. And, what we know is that it's almost impossible to resist a craving. And certainly for a lot of the clients I saw as a diabetes educator, that was true. Things would go really well until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then it was on, with whatever the food was. And so there would be, the trial might go for, say, 6 weeks. And then being a randomized control trial, they'd follow up, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years later. And it's interesting when you're in the midst of a problem like a craving, you think, well, am I ever going to get out of this? But they might ring a participant. Let's say they ring Mary and say, Mary, how are you? Remember that food craving trial you were in? And Mary said, oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that I remember now. And they might say, how are you going with the Kit Kats? And she said, what Kit Kats? Remember you're having 10 Kit Kats a day? And she'd say, oh, I don't do that anymore. And so it's so effective, you forget there was ever a problem. And there's been a trial in pain that's about to be published, actually, and that was done online. And I was listening to the researcher talk, and they're doing these 12-month follow-up phone calls. And she said a few of the participants in the trial actually forgot they'd even done the trial because they no longer had chronic pain. So they're the sorts of, it's like magic. I used to say as a diabetes educator, if only I had a magic wand, and I kind of feel like EFT is a magic wand because it's not that, pushing through and making yourself do it like just do it. It's like once you dissolve that resistance, you just automatically find yourself taking action. They did one more little example. They did a trial with teenagers in a school. This is a few years ago now. And one of the mothers rang the researcher up and said, what have you done to my son? And she said, why? She said, well, we were shopping. He asked me to buy some broccoli because they were tapping to increase their consumption of healthy foods. So, it's just super effective, and it tends to work in areas of the brain, the amygdala and the memory centre, and it's quite beautiful at at releasing, these fears or emotions. Beautiful for PTSD, anxiety, as well as practically, of course, in business and health. Yeah.
Okay, so how, well, like you said, it would help in PTSD and everything like that. So how could that actually help in trauma? Like, is it just going to make that go away? Because it seems like modern psychology makes people relive the trauma. And so it's actually quite a jarring experience. And a lot of people don't want to go back to therapy because they know they're just going to relive all this pain again and stuff. So how, in actual fact, would that actually help for trauma?
Yeah, it's actually brilliant. What they know now is that talk therapy does not work with trauma for the reasons that you've mentioned. And so you need something like EFT to work in the body as well. And so that you're not re-traumatizing someone, but you're just, chipping away. EFT is pretty quick, but with trauma, it's very important to work with a trauma-informed practitioner and use something like EFT, and there's standards around EFT and trauma that are important to adhere to, but super effective to use some therapy such as EFT. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So do you use this yourself?
Yes, I do. Yes, wonderful.
So like a daily basis, do you have a daily ritual you do, or is it just when things come up? How do you operate this for yourself?
Well, as always, probably not as often as I should.
I think we're all there.
So much easier to tell a client, but often definitely when something comes up, but I'm certainly getting more regular with it. Yeah. In a range of areas, around business and health and life. Yeah.
Okay, so so before you come from the nursing background, you had the diabetes educator background, and said, so what has changed for you to actually move more into the EFT dominated realm? Is the fact that it's just that good that it will, it's really is a lot better than some of the other things. It's
yes. Well, one of the problems with health is that there's like they call a research practice lag, and EFT really is something that really most health professionals, we could be using it in our health system, but of course we know how overburdened our health system is. But in a whole range of areas, to assist people with, lower their stress, to, many illnesses have got a stress background to them, even something as simple and practical as needle phobia. EFT is brilliant for that type of thing. So it's frustrating that there's it's starting to be embraced a little bit, but very small portion. So, we'll get there, but it's so slow. Often in health, there's just no time to spend that time with our clients. You're racing around, short-staffed, whatever's going on. I love spending time and being with my clients. Sessions are about 45 minutes, so you're able to work individually and spend that time and make a real difference. So I feel that I can make a much bigger difference doing the work that I'm doing now. But of course, in life, everything we do contributes to the whole. So I'm bringing that health background in and all of the things that I've done in the past, And just to go back, you mentioned, doing it every day, EFT every day, or just when something comes up. It's actually a beautiful modality to do every day. And, we talked about events in the past that have come up and might be weighing on our mind or whatever. And there's a beautiful EFT practice called Peace Procedure where you write all those things down. Let's say you write 50 things that perhaps you wish didn't happen in your life. And then you just pick one and you do EFT on that. And the beautiful thing about when you work on one issue, other related issues will be affected and reduce as well. And so you imagine, let's say you just did that one a week. Over a year, that's 50 things that you have, dissolved any emotional charge around. So it's really is quite transformative.
So for someone to actually take that on, that literally is a way of giving them self-compassion, a way of giving them a way they are loving themselves.
Yeah.
In the fact that they're giving them, I love to say things like it's giving people the best possible chance to succeed. So that kind of thing is a way to give yourself the best possible chance. And I talk about that, whether it's through the gym or whether through, normal stretching or meditation. It's just trying to do things in such a way that you can give yourself the best possible chance. Because I see it here every single day out at the mining camps, and you see the guys in the gym, and there's 5 guys all standing around the bench press, and they're all just going absolutely hell for leather. And in actual fact, they're doing themselves a disservice because, number one, they're not competing against themselves; they're competing against other people. The weaker ones are pushing themselves to do the same weight as the stronger ones. The stronger ones in a microcosm become a bit of a bully because it's like, come on, just and it becomes a bit of a schoolyard. And so that's not a way to love yourself. And it's definitely not a way to give yourself the best form of success. It's, and that's one thing I've had to change is, coming from bodybuilding background, and you have to do this and you have to do 6 sets and you have to do it, 8 to 12 times because that's how the muscles do it. And if you don't do that, you've failed. And, and so many different things, like you said, just do it. Yeah. And you get to the point where you just do it, which means you make yourself do it, which means you have to do it, which means you start to hate it. And then it's something you love. So you don't hate it, you hate yourself. Yeah. And it's just this snowball event that keeps going. And then because you can't get back into the gym, you've been told your whole life to eat big. So you haven't changed your eating habits. Yeah. So now you're becoming fat. You're still eating the same. And you say, why can't I get back to it? The only reason is I'm not in the gym lifting heavy. And so the self-loathing kicks in, and then you start hating on yourself and you become very self-conscious, and then you get upset. Like normally people used to say in a conversation, I've got a mate, man, he's as big as a house. Yeah, about your size.
Oh, dear.
But that used to be great. But now, not so much, because you're convinced you're fat, you're overweight, and now, I've got a mate who's as big as a house. Yeah, he's about your size, and it's not the same.
No, yeah, that's right.
And you find different ways if you don't deal with things like that and actually change the way you look at it. So, like you're saying, you've got those blockages, you're not dealing with those blockages, and in actual fact, you're smashing yourself trying to come up against those blockages, and the only one you're damaging is yourself because the blockages aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Unless you have this effective tool.
And what I love about this conversation is that, all of those experiences that you've had, they come in to make you the person that you are. And part of loving yourself, I think, is having a coach, whether it's in business or health or fitness, and a coach that will understand where you're at. And I had an experience myself in the gym a couple of weeks ago. It was very negative, but really, really demonstrates this, how important it is to, A, love yourself and know, your path and your journey, and have someone on your side, coaching you, supporting you, who will listen to you and take that into account. And I was on this particular machine and having this exercise scientist, see how I was going. And because I recently had a back injury, I was taking things very quiet with this machine, but highly, highly motivated to, get fit and strong. Anyway, she's going on about, how for my age I should be having it at, this level. I'm only doing this level. And she didn't bother to find out that actually I'm going to 2 gyms, and this is the second gym. So how motivated I am. Be that in the past, I was a victim of that just do it mentality and pushed through, got injured, and then had chronic pain for 2 years. So I do not want to do that again. But if it takes me 2 or 3 months longer to get to that goal, I don't mind, because I will get there. But she didn't. But she was just, okay, this is what you should do, and why aren't you doing it, type of thing. Not that she said that, but not in those words, but that was the attitude.
Yeah.
And it's just so important to have a coach, someone like yourself who knows where people are, and it's a collaborative process. Yeah.
It's funny, and it's important to know. The thing I appreciate now about where I'm at is I can sort of see the areas that need more help and more work. It's like, so I allowed myself to get overweight. So then I went back to the gym, and so it was good. I could lift a small car again, so that's fantastic. But then I was taking stuff out of the dishwasher, and a rubber spatula put me on my backside with a pulled back, and so then your body will tell you that, okay, we're going to start again. Obviously, the exterior is fantastic, but the interior needs some work. So, and that's when I really started getting back into my qigong and movement, and the whole body, and just actually working. Every single day there's a body adjustment and spinal health routine, which gives you the best possible chance of success for your day. So even if you don't do anything else, you've moved for 20 minutes. Yeah. You've been quiet. You've moved every single muscle in every direction that it can, and you're building strength and suppleness, and you're actually massaging your internal organs, and so you're actually, you're really starting off your day in a really, really positive way.
Yeah.
And then I went the other direction, and I only did that. And then all of a sudden my shoulders got smaller. I, became smaller and less muscular. And it's just like, well, okay, so this is 100% for your mind and your health and your ligaments and stuff. So you still have to go to the gym because you're a little bit self-centered and you need to have that, that athletic look, so that's the only reason the gym is there.
But also we lose, we know that we lose muscle as we get older. And, so it's there's more reason as we age to get into the gym than when we're 20 and wanting that buff look. Yeah. So, and you're right.
Do I feel that it's called sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss? So I feel really smart right now.
Yeah, but so true. And having that holistic outlook as well.
Yeah. And the thing I've been learning is, we as human beings, we need to move. The older we get, we need to move more. And if we're injured, we actually need to move more again. And the amazing thing, and coming back, this whole thing is having self-compassion, loving yourself along the way. When we get injured, we automatically move in such a way to induce healing. In such a way, it's just like, oh, I've done something to my shoulder. or, oh, okay, oh, that, or yeah, I'm feeling it there, but I can still do this. Yeah. Oh, okay, so I can still do, and so we actually start moving. I mean, it's almost like sticking your tongue in a sore tooth, in the fact that we go, oh, yep, oh, that's where it is. Yeah, that's where it is. But if we keep doing that, every single muscle around that injury is going to get stronger.
Yeah.
It's going to help support that injured area. That injured area is going to have more blood flow. It's going to have more nutrients brought into the thing just by us moving intuitively in a way. And we always do that. The minute we step off a curb and we do something with our ankle, we're immediately going, okay, I can do that, but I can't do this. All right, so we'll just
we do, but we can also not move enough. So that's where a coach comes in as well, that we tend to do less, not more sometimes. So, sometimes we don't move enough. And certainly with my back injury, that was something that, a lot of people don't, they just stop instead of, no, we actually need to be building those muscles up. Yeah. So very interesting.
Just for mobility's sake. No, and we've all seen it. We've seen the people, and I always joke that they all turn into the little guy at the RSL. He comes up, "There you go, mate, you win it," and but we see that, like, we're talking about age-related muscle loss, and people, they get scared of having a fall. Start taking shorter steps, the muscles start getting shorter and they start seizing up. So you can't take big steps anymore. And it's just, and it's that cycle that starts, and we really, really need to, keep maintaining that and keeping, and it is a form of self-love for us to be able to, get out and go for a walk. Our body is designed to move through space, and just the act of going for a walk is an act of mindful meditation, because you don't really have to pay attention because we've got footpaths everywhere. So we're really in a situation where we can just let our thoughts wander a little bit. And the cool thing is, when you're being mindful and stuff, you can have a thought come and it's just like, okay, it's there, and let it go again. Instead of, what most of us do, because we're busy, the thought will come and we figure, well, that's my thought, so I'm going to grab it and I'm just going to hold on to that because that's mine. And it's like, the old Charlie Brown comics, Linus with his blanket. I'm not going anywhere without this because this is mine. And it's just, don't take ownership of that thought. It's just a thought. Let it go through. Another one will come.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, so just having all those types of things. So you said have a coach or mentor, and so it's good for just normal everyday people. Do you have one yourself?
I have quite a few. Yes, I do. So, and have all along, really. Probably I'm a lifelong learner and strive to be the best that I can be. So, yes, I do. Yeah. Whether it's health, which is my, I've seen a dietitian and go to the gym and see physios and exercise physiologists, to business, both mindset and strategy, which is very, very important for both of them. And I also surround myself with people who will support me. So one of my big lessons over the last probably year, I've had quite a few setbacks, has been how can I support myself? So whether that's, asking for help, whether from someone or in my life or a coach or mentor, to surrounding myself with people who will support me. So that has been a really big lesson. I was raised to be pretty independent, and asking for help was used to be difficult, not so much anymore. And as women, often we tend to leave ourselves last, and we don't ask for help. And so that's another way that self-love can come in, which is so important, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I found that when we had the personal training studio, my client was literally the woman in her 40s and 50s who was no longer that girl anymore, or she was no longer that young lady or that woman. She was the wife. She was the mother. You know, in this day and age, you have to work a job, so she worked full time. She had to come home and deal with the children. She had to come home and do dinner and make sure that's done. Had to make sure, and all the husbands were literally the working class, normal working men, whether they were tradies or whatever, but they'd have to come home. They probably wouldn't get home for another hour or two after, you know, I mean, to be fair to them. However, they'd come home, essentially dinner and sit in front of the television. And or, you know, go out to the shed and potter on their toy, which left her shed to still have to deal with the kids, get the homework done, get them ready for bed. And so her day wouldn't finish until 9:30 at night. And all of a sudden she'd finally get to sit down, and he's like finished with his television programs. If she's lucky, she gets a remote control, and they, you know, she got to watch her show, and then of course afterwards it's bedtime, and then he expects to be a husband, and you know, and the poor thing's just exhausted. But I found that they were starting to remember when they were that young lady. They were remembering when men opened the door for them. They were remembering how men would look at them down the street. They were remembering when they played netball with the girls. I found my clients had that craving to be something like who they used to be. And that's why, and that was the reason they started personal training from a, you know, purely physical perspective, is the fact, I just want to lose weight again. And I just want to be able to move, because I don't like the way I look in clothes. I don't like the way I feel in clothes. And it was like, this was every single story of every single woman that came in. And the cool thing is, we would give them twice a week their half hour where they would come in and they would train, and they would, you know, hate it. They would hate me. But I could see the changes.
Yeah.
And some days they would walk in and it'd be like, oh, Julie, we're just going to turn these lights off today. We're getting out of here. We're going to go for a walk, because you're not going to lift any weights. And because one thing, the problem is not the problem. They just need to talk because they're so busy, and life is relentless. I mean, I think from a boy's point of view, it's no, you know, avenue of roses, you know, but we've got different issues and things. But I found this to be the story of every single woman, because they don't have their time.
And often we're not good at, with boundaries. This is a really important conversation, because boundaries are so important, and often it starts with us. Saying, no, this is the line in the sand. And when you set your own boundary, often we don't even have to say anything sometimes. People will respect that. So that, you know, I deserve time to work on my fitness, or just time to enjoy my life, whatever it is. And often I found this in my life too, is often we're not aware of, because we're not used to asking for help, we don't see areas where we can access that help and support. And sometimes it's being creative. Like sometimes it's you might babysit for a friend, and then she will babysit your children so that you can go to the gym. And then she can go to the gym while that's a really simple example. But how we can be creative and carve out that time for ourselves, and not put ourselves last all the time. Yeah. And also I think what you're bringing up too is about identity. And one of the things I love that comes out in the work that I do is it's not just dissolving the blocks and the fears and the limiting beliefs that are getting in the way, the resistance. It's also about stepping into and embodying who you want to be. Now, with health and fitness, that's, fitter, stronger, healthier you. And when I think about that, okay, how does she think? How does she move? How does she breathe? What decisions does she make? So that's sort of like two sides there. You're sort of dissolving what's getting in the way and you're stepping into who you want to be. Yeah.
I sort of like that. I remember a Bible, a quote, which was, call those things that be not as though they are. So it's like,
goodness, yes.
Just like positive thinking. It's just like, it's exactly the same as, you know what, this is what I want it to be. So we find, Cass and I are trying that a lot. It's just like, yes, this is happening, but let's not ask why it's happening, because our brain will just keep telling us that's because you won't stop eating ice cream. You won't stop drinking soda water. Your brain will supply you answers to the questions.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you know what? I want to be fitter and healthier. I want to do this. And the biggest thing for me, I think, is the fact that I stopped doing it for other people. I actually decided I wanted to be stronger. And I've always prided myself whenever we've moved house so many times that I could lift the washing machine, sling it over my shoulder and just carry it up the staircase and put it into the house where it needed to go. Yeah. And to me, that was a source of pride. And when we got to Brisbane 2 years ago, we at the end of a terrible 2 years that and I couldn't even get it off the truck.
Yeah.
And I was devastated, gutted. And the fact that and Cass was there going, what are you doing? Come on. Because her expectation over 20 years is the fact that you just pick this stuff up and cough with it. Go on.
Yeah.
And she didn't even know she was doing it. She was she's just waiting for the magic to happen. And it's just like, I got nothing.
Oh dear.
And so, so to me, that was my pivotal moment that I had to change again.
Yeah.
What I was doing was not working for me. It did not serve me. And I had to change for myself because that was my thing. Yeah. So, I mean, have you had a pivotal moment like that for yourself?
Well, now you're asking. Probably been, if I go back, probably been quite a few. I think it's more been gradual moments for me. Yeah. And sometimes, in fact, when I think about jobs and work and now I'm doing something that lights me up and is just, I pinch myself that I get to do the work that I do every day. Sometimes I had to be pushed quite hard by the universe or whatever to change course, let's say. And looking back, hindsight is wonderful. You think, oh my goodness, you should have jumped ship or made a change, 6 months, 12 months before you did. But, and that's where that saying, I never give up. Well, sometimes you actually need to change something. So sometimes looking back, it's taken a fair bit to get me to change course. But I'm getting there, which is, and happily a work in progress, which is fantastic too. I think that's one of my biggest lessons has been to enjoy the journey. And I wrote a blog once about, enjoy the journey. I'd say that with gritted teeth. I don't want to enjoy the journey. I want to get there. whether there is, you know, strong body or a certain weight or a certain income level, whatever that is. And now I happily enjoy the journey, and that has been a huge lesson and a huge gift. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
I love seeing that in in ourselves, because we're literally living art. You look at any kind of sculptor in the world, at some point he had to just go, yeah, all right, it's done, and walk away. And you look at static art, at some point it becomes done. But we are kinetic art.
Yeah.
We are alive. We are full of movement and life. And, you know, every single day our cells are being renewed. We are literally art that will never, ever be finished.
Yeah.
And the fact that we can, you know, we can work on it, and we can, like you're saying, joyfully work on it, because we get to, we want to. And the fact that there are things in our life that, you know, I mean, we're working on a life balance diary at the moment. And the fact that you can actually go into the elements of your life, you know, and go, where am I falling short? Well, you know what? For this month, I'm just going to do that one thing.
Yeah.
You know, and then next month, there'll be something else that isn't at the same level as something else. And it's a working piece of art that you can lovingly do every single month and every single day. And it's just like, you know what? I noticed that there's part of me that isn't quite as good as the rest of me. But guess what? I'm doing this one thing every day to try and make that part better, stronger, prettier, you know, and because I want to be better tomorrow. I want to be better today. And, you know, I don't want to be who I was yesterday. I don't want to be who I was last year. I don't want, you know, everything has to change. And, you know, the thing that, you know, like you said, sometimes we need to stop and go, this is not serving me anymore. Yes, I made a decision, but it's not working, or it's not the right one. I need to stop, pivot, and I need to move on to another direction here, because that will serve me better, or serve us better, or serve, you know, my purpose better. And the fact to be able to do it now with love, rather than be able to do it because we got kicked in the pants, or we have to, or we've got responsibilities and stuff. But I love the fact that when you lead a life of self-compassion, and it's only now I'm sort of realizing that that's what I've moved into, I guess, is the fact that I'm allowing compassion is not weak.
No.
You know, so allowing myself to be compassionate in such a way that, you know what, I do deserve this. I do deserve things, and I do deserve to want to do it for myself as well as for the people around me. And it's I talk at home all the time. We have responsibilities which we have to do. You know, however, those responsibilities are a great thing because it serves the people I love. It serves my animals I love. And, you know, it serves me because, you know, I get to, you know, do this for all the people around me and for myself. You know, and I just love that people, if they can just make that little, it's just a tweak. Everything is just a little tweak. Just change something. Just change something. You know, we talk about the stacking habits and everything. We always do that. You don't need to change one. Just change one. Because guess what? It's a habit, which means I don't have to do anything anymore. I do it automatically. Brushing your teeth is not a habit. Checking your rearview mirrors, you know, it is a habit, but checking your rearview mirrors, that's not a big deal in the car. I remember when I first got in the car, how the heck do you expect me to look away from this massive screen and know? But now it's, you know, the side of your eye, side of your eye. So all these things, we stacked those habits, and we can now drive cars on freeways, in city traffic, on country roads, and we use the principles we learned everywhere else to enable us to be able to drive in new terrain, on wet roads, on dry roads. All of a sudden now we're doing mud roads. We've just Why? Because we did something enough that it became a habit, and we stacked more and more and more habits on top of it, which gave us skills. It gave us potential for freedom, because you get in the car and you can go wherever you want, anywhere you want, anytime you want. And so, these habits bring freedom, and just all these little things that we do are an act of loving yourself.
And it's so important, what you say about habit stacking and those small steps. That's probably one of the biggest mistakes I made, both personally and professionally, because we have the, health guidelines. You need to be doing, 30 minutes of exercise, whatever it is, 5 days a week. And that's too much for many people to get started. It might be 5 minutes. And when I first heard that it changed my life, actually. In fact, I was very resistant. I thought 5 minutes. I've never had anything so ridiculous in my whole life. But in fact, 3 months down the track, that 5 minutes is that, 30 minutes, 5 days a week. And it stays done. So, and I used to think, other people can start small, but I'm going to do, X, 30 minutes on the treadmill. Well, it might last 2 or 3 days, and that was that. It's all too hard. So, such an important concept, that tiny habits and those small steps. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to start winding down now. So what would you recommend for people on a daily basis for their mindset to give them the best chance of success?
Well, I'm probably biased, but EFT is such a beautiful mindset tool. And I think it's not enough to know what to do, and pushing through doesn't work. So we've talked about, overlaying self-compassion on everything. But EFT is such a brilliant tool, especially like in your field, health and fitness. We know we can use it to increase our healthy habits, such as exercise, drinking water, increasing our vegetable intake. We can use it to cut out the unhealthy habits, such as cravings, deal with our emotions. A lot of what we eat is we don't eat because we're hungry, we eat because of emotion. So EFT, and probably do as I say, not as I do.
Don't talk to me at the moment. I've been having a bowl of ice cream every day for a whole week. I'm so sad. I'm like, yep, that's all. I think that one's guilt.
Yes, well, tap it away. Yes, it's such a lovely tool to complement their action taking. So probably that would be the daily mindset tool, and putting a priority on your mindset. Now, it might not be EFT, it might be a bit too out there for you. It might be your meditation, it might be your qigong and grounding and lowering that stress, as well as the physical activity. So yeah, our mindset is absolutely key.
Yeah, I find mindset is actually more powerful than the nutrition, more powerful than the physical side of things. It's just just being able to control what we react to.
Yeah, so important. Yeah.
All right. So nutritionally, what would you recommend people to give them the best chance of success?
Well, there's a million diets out there, but one thing I think they all agree on is more vegetables and less processed rubbish. Probably without getting too controversial, we all need to eat more veggies, and we all need to eat less rubbish. So that would probably be my recommendation.
All right.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to say social network, family and friends. How does this affect you, and how do you think it would really, really help benefit people in regards to their social.
Yeah, I think it's just so important to surround yourself with people who lift you up and who support you and who might, in the most loving way, gently nudge you back in the right direction. It might be, have you thought about X, or is that, do you really think that's wise, or whatever it is. And I have some beautifully supportive family members and also some friends with, internet. This is just incredible, the fact that you and I, we're separated probably by thousands of kilometres, but we're having this chat. And I've got some biz besties throughout the world, in Europe, in England and France, particularly, who I could, call at the drop of a hat. And I know that whatever the situation was, whatever I'd done, I'd say, that's okay. We can fix it. They, dry my eyes and you're good to go again. And having that support, I think, is absolutely invaluable. And it's out there because of how lucky we are with our technology now. So it might not be your blood relatives, but we all need people who have our back. And research plays this out with health as well. We know if we surround ourselves with people who love pizza and don't exercise, that's what we'll become. So surrounding ourselves with people who they might be where you are, or they have the same value, where you want to be, or they have the same values. And support is just so important.
All right. So having self-compassion, loving yourself along the way, what final advice would you give people?
Final advice. That's a really good question. I was thinking about this earlier. I think it is, when you slip up, and you're going to, is even if you notice that you're starting to beat yourself up, just notice and be aware and have a real lightness and gentle curiosity around it. Instead of saying, you're silly, you said you were going to do that and you didn't do that, whatever it is. That's interesting. You didn't follow through. What's that all about? And that's where the answers will come. And there's often a part of us that needs to be heard. And then we can find, okay, I'm doing that because I'm sad, or whatever it is. Well, okay, let's look at that. So, just once again, that gentle curiosity, that lightness, and that self-compassion.
Okay, Claire, as we wrap up now, where can people find you? Where can they find out more about you? Where can they find more about EFT and just helping themselves?
So I'm on Facebook. So if you pop Claire Kerslake in, I think I'm down as Claire M. Kerslake. I'd love for you to touch base over there on YouTube, and quite a few YouTube videos about EFT. Claire Kerslake there. And I've got a toolkit. It is aimed at women in business, but there are quite a few videos on how to around EFT. And that's clairekerslake.com/toolkit, which is an opt-in. But
fantastic. That's awesome. Okay. Thank you very much for coming and talking to me today and talking to us all, because there's so many things in there that can just help us, just people just to fall in love with where you're at, and and the journey, not necessarily the destination, because every single day we're going to change that little bit. So, thank you very much.
It's been such a lovely conversation. We've touched on quite a few things, but I think they've been all important, and I've loved it. Thank you.
Awesome, no worries. All right, I'm going to press the button and it's going to kick us violently out into the cold. So I will talk to you later.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye. For everyone who tuned in today, thanks for listening to today's Relax and Enjoy Health podcast with Claire Kerslake. If you'd like to know more about Claire, you can find her on www.clairekerslake.com. I've been your host, Andrew French, for optimal health, well-being and balance. If you want the bullet points from today's podcast or even for some free resources, check us out at www.relaxenjoyhealth.com.au. If you've enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or even leave us a review and a rating. To catch all the latest from us, you can follow us on Facebook, Relax Enjoy Health. But for now, stay sane and have a great day.